It's November 2020 and we're into our second lockdown, which is pretty miserable, but we've been kept busy with a move because yes, we're moving out of number 5 after 8 glorious years. Matthew's already gone, he's lurking somewhere in Bristol, just leaving his Marvel posters behind. Thomas came back for a bit, but he's off to London town, so he cooked us a delicious roast beef meal before I drove him down to the Big Smoke, and we called in to see Granny on the way there before I dumped him some nondescript part of Clapham. Now here's Daniel. Daniel's now stuck with me. We're the dynamic duo watching telly and pottering along quite happily, but he's a bit messy, you know, and I do end up cooking all the meals, but he's a good boy. And here he is. We've been packing all the boxes for books for Granny's garage. We've taken all the plants over from one garden to another. We've moved all the pictures off the wall, just about all gone. Mel came up, worked like a dog, tidying the whole place up. Alex and Adam, Daniel's friends, did the move. And I say goodbye. Goodbye to number 5. Not sorry to see this view go round the back of the house. And the front of the house always had, I think, an attractive view of number 16, which you see on the right, and very fortunate to be moving there. It's a big job though, you can see from these pillars it's falling down, but Mel seems pretty happy about all of that, which is great. Just about everything you can see is going to go. This staircase is going to go, this kitchen is going to go, all the electrics and water and everything's going to go. We just set up a squatter camp in the bedrooms. You can see the kind of fading glory of the whole place, and buckets up in the attic where we're going to take the roof right the way up. Planning permission has been applied for, hope to get before Christmas. Mel working away there on Ian's plans, which is good. She's become the swatch queen of Queen's Park, and also have to work out where all the electrical points and things like that go. Never mind the colour palette, which we're putting up on the wall. So Mel and Daniel worked very hard to get us to this point. Daniel has set his gym up in the back, which as you see is falling down. And at the same time, he's moved into number 18 and lives in palatial splendour, which is more than safe for downstairs, which is a kind of old garage stroke stable in a bit of a dreadful state. But we've got a plan. We're going to do it up. In the short term, I can live there. In the medium term, we can have like a gym or something. And in the long term, we're quite interested in the whole idea of Airbnb. Make some money and meet some people, you know, it could be quite nice. So we'll see more pictures of this garage next month. Now they've got the concrete floor down. The other thing we're working on is the garden. The hornbeam did shed its leaves, despite what we were told. It looks magnificent here. But you can see the problem when the leaves do go on the left and on the right, the balance between privacy and light. So we're going to have to do something about that with careful planting. Now, really, we've been restricted to the Cotswolds for the whole month. Bronwyn took us for a walk up to the top. Fantastic views, a part of the escarpment I've not been to for 7 or 8 years. Not just looking down the valley, but behind you as well. So that was all pretty splendid. Picture here of me taking a photograph of me, which I think is quite amusing. And the walk was so good that I took Mel up there about a week later, and we had an equally good walk, although we did get a bit lost and I had to scramble up on all 4s up the escarpment. Once you're there, views are wintry and magnificent, seeing right the way over, light in the trees, fog in the valley up towards Cleve Hill. So beautiful, beautiful walks up the top of the escarpment. Also went to Cirencester Park with Mum for the first time for ages, down Coxwell Street, which is where I first moved in when I came to Cirencester, and then along Thomas Street, past the old Rothschild's buildings, a quick look at the Little Mead, which was looking fabulous, it's had money spent on it. Then up Cecily Hill, there's a Tontines where we nearly bought, and Cecily Hill House. So Cecily Hill looking very, very good indeed, the barracks up at the top, and then into the park. And what was surprising was the sheer number of people that were around. The Broadwalk looked magnificent. They're planting new trees, but there's still enough old trees to give you that autumn vista. They've even got a coffee van there now as well, though what these elephants were doing there, I'm not too sure. Most of the time though was in Abbey Grounds, We watched the Copper Beech, it's lost its leaves too, starting to look quite bare here, and by the end of the month the weather had turned grey and dank and horrible, so there's a lot more of a winter scene. The cygnets have all survived, which is great, all 6 of them. They fly around the place now, so we'll have to see what happens to all of them. And if the sun is out, the park looks great, and we have a lovely hour and a half with Mum, wandering around the place, saying hello to people and looking at the sights and what have you. David came up, he's a good boy to see his mummy, and we took a slightly different turn into the market square. I stood behind the church, which is an amazing ecclesiastical office. It's a wool church built with wool money, and the market square is looking good. There's not too many cars in it these days. Here's Harry Hare's, where I went to on my very first day with Lawrence Anderson. And now, most trips, it's coffee rather than ice cream for Mum, but she's happy with that. It's nicely wrapped up, so that's good. But the square starting to look a bit grey and miserable. The river starting to look a bit grey and miserable. Yes, it's winter's here, and I feel it's going to be a long winter. It's the same story in Cheltenham. Montpellier Square and the pump house looking beautiful under a blue sky. The pubs look good, but unfortunately they're all empty. And if you go up to Pittville, which I'm trying to do to drag myself out on the walks, it's the same old story. But what you have to say is winter's coming, and this is a more familiar scene at this time of year. Even the Christmas decorations can't cheer us all up. So everybody's got a bit of low-level depression. What we want to do, even Flash, is press the reset button. But what these photographs show, taken on a new phone, is the new world's going to be different to the old world. A lot of things are going to be harder, but there's going to be a different type of society as well as we move off into 2021. I think we're all ready for that. So my hope is that we will bounce back fairly quickly, that the British people will burst with energy. None more so than those who have been ill. Here's Margie Moogles and Seamus. They had a fortnight in bed, which is no fun for anyone, and so did Mike. So it's been a tough year. Let's hope for better. And end on a silly picture of me in a hat.
Are you proud of Thomas?
Oh, magnificent.
Why is he magnificent?
Why is he magnificent?
Yes.
He's my grandson.
Yeah, is he a good grandson?
Yes.
And Thomas, what do you think of Granny?
She's magnificent.
Oh, they're both she's magnificent too. Okay. Daniel clowning about with loading the car. He's been a good boy. He's loaded. What have you got to say, Daniel? Yes?
I haven't got anything to say on the matter.
He's been a good boy. There we right.